and welcome to Curry TV. So on this episode, we are going to be sharing something very simple but elegant and humble thing. It's a look back into our Christianity. We are celebrating Mundi Thursday, which is also known as Pesaha, which means it's a replication of what Jesus did for his disciples. He washed their feet, 12 disciples, and they had a last supper together. So this is a replication of what Jesus did then before he was crucified. So in this process, we are actually serving an appam with milk. So the milk is actually made with coconut milk, and I'll show you how that is done. Let's take a look at all the ingredients that we'll be using for this recipe. So I got 4 pods of cardamom ready, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1 small piece of jaggery, or you could use brown sugar or white sugar. You need 100 grams of it. So what I'm doing right now is melting this jaggery in some water. For that, I have 1 cup of water ready. It doesn't have to be hot. It doesn't have to, there's no precise preference if you want to have cold or hot. So that's up to you. And I also have 2 cups of water ready to mix or to make that coconut milk. So this is 1 can of coconut milk, which I'm going to separate: first extract, second extract, and third extract. So let's take a look at how this is going to be all made. Now you might be curious, where do I get my leaf or palm leaf from, right? I was not able to go to the church this year for the Holy Week, but this is a reserve from last year. So this palm leaf is what they crush or burn into ashes, and this is what they put on the Ash Wednesday. So usually during that time we reserve it till that Ash Wednesday of next year and donate it back to the church, and they will, because this is blessed, you don't throw it in the garbage. We don't let anybody step on it, so it's very, very holy. Let's get our spices going. For that, I am going to have my water. First and foremost, I need to turn on my stove. Okay, first let's pour in our 1 cup of water, which is pre-measured. To that, we are going to crush our jaggery. Okay, I'm going to add all of my jaggery into this. While that is simmering, let's get all our spices. So next what we're going to do is, I have 4 cardamoms ready. I'm just going to crush it so that I can take the pods out of the shell. Because I was raised here, I was not aware of all the cultural things that they do in India, and through Curry TV, that's one of the things that I want to share with you. So as I'm learning, I'm going to share with you as well, so you can also know the cultural things that comes across. When we were in India at the time, my grandmother would go to church early in the morning and bring back a new pot, and all of this will be made in that new pot. So usually it's a clay pot, but I can't get one of those here, so I'm just reusing one of the things that I have here. So that's also a unique thing, and they all wear white. There's a prayer process that we go through. You pray on behalf of the rest of the family, and usually this is distributed amongst the family by the oldest person in the household. So it doesn't matter if it is a man or woman, but who is the oldest person in that family is the one who actually distribute this amongst family. And we also reserve, so say if you have somebody passed away in your family, those families will not be making this because they are mourning for that one whole year. So when we make it, when others make it, we distribute it for them as well. We give a share to them. So that's how we share that unity, the love that Jesus taught us. So all our pods are in the mortar mix. I'm going to add all of my cumin, which is 1 teaspoon of cumin, into this mortar mix. And let's crush this. This is well dissolved. The jaggery is dissolved in that water. I'm just going to reduce it so that it becomes a little bit concentrated. We need to reserve this leaf, the palm leaf, to make a cross. So I already have cut up pieces of this so that I can place it as a cross. The initial one has to be this. So that's one thing that I'm getting ready for. This is just the milk version, and we also have to make the bread, which is very easy, but it's very tasty too. The uniqueness from that bread is you don't have to ferment it. In my hometown, where I am from, this is a total different bread and milk. They use a lot of different techniques in making the bread and milk. I'll show you that in the next episode or in the next year, Holy Thursday. This is perfect. I'm going to turn off my stove and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to sieve this through a strainer, and then I'll show you the next step. So I got a sieve ready, and I'm going to pour this into a bowl. In case if there's any particles that we don't want in our milk, this will help with that. So we got the sugar ready. Now what we're going to do is, I got 1 can of coconut milk ready, right? So I'm going to pour in I'm reserving this for my first extract. Okay, next what I'm going to do is pour half of this into this cooker. Okay, and dilute that with a 1/4 cup of water. Okay, I had 2 cups of water ready. I got it to 1/4 cup. Now let's get our stove going. So at this stage, we are going to place our cross. If you have time and if you can get your hands on fresh coconut, then do this with the fresh coconut. With this COVID-19, we are all under quarantine, so I was not able to get fresh coconut. That's why I'm relying on the can. Okay, at this stage I had a different one, so I got ready. I cut it into a small cross, and I'm just going to place this. Okay, now we're going to flavor this coconut milk with some of the spices that we have. All of it goes in. Let's give it a good mix. When you use different types of sugar, that color change will appear in your coconut milk or in your milk when the final version of it. So my milk is going to be light brown. If you use regular sugar, yours will be white. So it's okay, it will be still tasty, but it's just that color difference is going to happen because of the sugar. Let's bring this to a boil. The milk has come to a rolling boil, but we need to reduce the quantity and make sure it's cooking well in there. It would take anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. To this we need 2 tablespoons of rice flour. This is pre-measured. When I had all the ingredients out, I forgot to mention about this, so sorry. But in my ingredients picture there is this, but I just didn't talk to you about it, so sorry about that. And this is the stage you gotta give it a good mix. Make sure there's no lumps in that. Slowly it will dissolve. Then we add rice flour to this so that it thickens up. It'll be a nice thick consistency. There are a few more lumps in there, so I'm just going to crush them all with the back of my ladle. Okay, at this stage our rice flour has done its job. It's thickened. So right now we need to add in our melted jaggery into this. As soon as you pour that jaggery syrup, it's going to change its color. The milk is going to change its color. Okay, so now we need to let this come to a boil again. In the meantime, I have the reserved 1 cup of coconut milk ready. I'm just going to make sure there's no lumps in this, because after we pour this coconut milk in, we should not let it boil. So I'm just making sure it comes as smooth as possible. If you like thick milk with your bread, then you should let this simmer on low flame. Slowly cook everything in the process. So I'm gonna let this go. So as you can see, my coconut milk has come to a nice boil. I'm gonna reduce this heat. I'm also gonna flavor this with some salt. My hometown, they don't add salt to any of this, the milk or the bread. But when I came to my husband's side of the town, they do. So if you're seeing this, I know if you're from where I am, which is Kottayam, we don't add salt to this. That's okay. You have your version, I have my version, all right? Very good. Okay, so while this is simmering, let me talk to you through what all the ingredients that we'll be needing for the bread. So I got 2 cups of rice flour. This is unroasted rice flour, plain rice flour. I got 1 teaspoon of cumin, salt to taste. This is 1/4 cup of urad dal. Okay, this is 1/4 of a coconut, very thinly sliced, as if you were making unniyappam. If you don't know how to make that, please refer back. But this is very thinly sliced coconut, and we need 100 grams of pearl onions. This is roughly 8 depending on the size. So if you're taking the big one, use 5 to 6, or if you're using the small pearl onions, then use 8. So we got all of this ready, and then we also will be making this on a griddle with some coconut oil, and I'll show you how that's done. First and foremost, what we need to do is wash our urad dal a couple of times and make sure that water comes clear, and then we need to soak it for like 10 minutes or so. In that meantime, we're going to get all of this ready. Our milk is ready. I'm going to pour in our first extract of 1 cup coconut milk, and we're going to turn off the stove. After we pour this in, we should not let it boil, because then it will split. Okay, I'm going to turn off my stove, and done. Our milk is ready. So I have washed our urad dal few times, and I've got this ready into our grinder or a blender, whatever that you have on hand. We're going to add all of our urad dal in there with some water, just so that we can get it to grind. We need it to come to a nice thick paste. Let's scrape off all the sides and add in our rice flour. So this is 2 cups of rice flour. Okay, to this we're going to add the remaining 1 1/4 cup of water. So this is going to come to a nice thick batter. Let's mix it, or you can whip it up in your blender. Make sure there's no lumps in there. So I got my batter ready. Let me pour this into a container so you can see how loose, how thick it is, right? Okay, I'll show you how thick my batter is. See that? If you don't want to make this many appams, you can definitely reduce the quantity, as I mentioned. Got my batter ready. Next, what we need to do is let's ground all of our 1 teaspoon of cumin. I kept it separate so that you can identify how much of it that you need for your milk and how much you need it for your bread. So this is total of 2 teaspoons of cumin that we are using for this. 1 teaspoon for the milk and 1 teaspoon for the bread. Okay, our powdered cumin goes in. Next, we are going to add a pinch of salt. Let's give it a good mix. Even though I couldn't get my hands on a new pot, I am using my new bowl for this purpose. At least that would, satisfy my, traditions and stuff. So the batter is somewhat ready. We flavored it. Now what we need to do is saute our shallots or our pearl onions along with our coconut slices. So for that, I am going to turn on my stove. So this preparation, as we are learning more about each other's traditions and stuff, this time frame, the 50 days prior to Easter, we start a fasting process where we don't eat any non-veg. So if you are vegetarian and you don't consume any non-veg, you just choose whichever ones that you really like and you give up that. Especially on Holy Thursday, the Last Supper, the Good Friday, Good Saturday, and on Easter is when we break our fast. So these 3 days we don't consume any non-veg. This is why I made that ginger curry. If you have seen it, good for you. If not, this will be a perfect time for you to make it for your family. So that will be a side dish. And I can show you one more thing, which is with the mango, green mango. I'll show you that recipe as well. Okay, our pan is nice and hot. Let's pour in some coconut oil, depending on how much you want to put. So we are shallow frying this. So I have poured in 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. To that, I'm going to add all of my pearl onions. When that slowly changes its color, I'm going to add my coconut. It smells so good. Even though we make this only once a year, it is so tasty and it's just, oh. Okay, my onions started changing its color. I'm going to add all of our coconut slices. Okay, let's pour all of this into our batter. The quantity of coconut oil that we used was precise. The 2 tablespoons of coconut oil was just enough. Okay, so our batter is ready. Let's head on over to our stove. When our griddle becomes really nice and hot, you can see there's a color change, and that's when we start laying out our batter. It's like similar to how we make dosa or dosa. So initially I had my stove at very high. I'm going to reduce the heat to medium. This griddle doesn't come with a lid, so I'm using a different pan lid. First off, what we are going to do is get a good ladle full of batter. And slowly make it nice round. It doesn't have to be perfect, because nobody is perfect, right? Now I'm going to place my first cross. So we're going to cover this and cook for 2 to 3 minutes. Hear that sizzling sound? So that means our bread is ready. Second time when you flip it over, you don't need to cover it. So let's just wait for this to be done. Okay, our appam is ready. Amen. 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 So I hope you enjoyed this evening with us. This is how we celebrate our Holy Thursday, the Last Supper of Jesus. So this is a replica of how we traditionally do in Kerala. We wish you all a blessed Holy Week. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.